Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of WARF Entrepreneurons. My name is Laura Heisler and I'm Director of Programming for WARF, the Wisconsin Alumni Research Foundation. And we are pleased to bring you this program in partnership with the Campus Discovery to Product Office, or D2P. We'll be having a really engaging program this afternoon, but before we get to that, I do want to mention that this is a very special week in terms of campus entrepreneurship. This is the very first day of Startup UW-Madison Week. Brought to you by D2P and a number of campus partners who you can see here. I do want to mention a few events that WARF is producing throughout this week. We are pleased to be able to offer one program every day, and I'm going to run through those just really briefly so that you can get them on your calendar if you haven't already. Continuing tomorrow, we'll be having a conversation with a new unit on campus. The Computer Science, Data Science, and Information Science the School of Computer Science, Data Science, and Information Science in the College of Letters and Sciences is going to be talking about venture funding in the COVID world in the high-tech arena, and you won't want to miss that tomorrow at 4 o'clock. On Friday, we're going to be bringing you our WARF Essential Topics series for campus innovators and inventors to talk about how you disclose something if you've invented something. And that's always a really lively session and lots of good information with some new developments in how WARF is processing disclosures this year that you'll want to find out about. Not doing anything over the weekend, but resuming on Monday with a focus with WARF and campus leaders on how to manage outside work, consulting agreements, engagement with companies and third parties while being a member of the campus community. On Tuesday, we'll be having a really interesting discussion with leaders from around the country on how to structure entrepreneurship programs to encourage more women and people of color to advance their ideas through entrepreneurship, and how those programs are faring and how UW-Madison can learn from some of those examples. And then we're going to end with a bang on Wednesday at 2 p.m. on Wednesday, November 18th with our annual WARF Innovation Day. So you won't want to miss that. To sign up for any of these, you do need to sign up so we can get you the Zoom link. You can either email info@warf.org or go to warf.org, go to the programming tab, and there's lots of information there as well as a button to help you get signed up for any of those events. So I wanted to bring all of those to your attention. I do want to also mention a couple of housekeeping details for how this session's going to go. We are going to be hearing from a number of different speakers, and then we're going to be able to field your questions. To manage the questions, we like to use the Q&A function, which you can find at the bottom of your screen. You can ask your question at any time using Q&A, and we'll either respond to it by typing the answer for everyone to see or by fielding it towards the end of the hour when we get to some conversational Q&A. So use that Q&A function if you do have a question. We hope that you do. And with that, I'm going to turn the virtual podium over to my colleague, Andy Richards, the Director of Campus D2P.
Thank you, Laura, and welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us. As Laura said, I'm Andy Richards, the Director of Discovery to Product, or D2P, and we are so pleased to be part of this event with WARF to help kick off Startup Week. Startup Week is a great opportunity to get ideas and inspiration and learn about all the amazing people and resources right here on campus. Startup Week features over 20 events hosted by partners in UW-Madison's Innovate Network, an initiative coordinated by D2P that brings together 18 university and campus affiliate programs who actively support innovation, tech transfer, and campus entrepreneurship in a full array of sectors, from biomanufacturing to computer and data science, health and medicine, clean tech, food science, and many other areas. During this afternoon session, you're going to get a ton of great insights from Aimee and Michelle on some of the leading tools that entrepreneurs all around the world are using to figure out how to turn their idea into a business. In addition to the tools that you'll learn about in today's presentation, I want to highlight the launch of a brand new tool specifically developed for innovators called Start in Wisconsin. Start in Wisconsin is an online searchable directory that provides access to resources for entrepreneurs all in one place. Start-In is being implemented statewide through the leadership of the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation and UW System, with assistance from UW-Madison and Starting Block Madison. With the help of partners in the Innovate Network, Discovery to Product has partnered to create a campus-specific version of that platform called Start in UW-Madison. On the Start in UW-Madison directory, you can find by campus, for campus resources that support UW entrepreneurs, innovators, startups, and spinouts through education, training, networking, technology transfer, technical assistance, funding, and physical resources. The campus platform also includes a link to the Madison Region Start in Wisconsin page to help facilitate exploration of additional community-based programs and resources that you'll find right here in the Madison region. And of course, many resources like this Entrepreneurons lecture series are designed for both campus and community, so it's listed in both directories. We're excited to introduce this new tool, and we encourage you to use Start in UW-Madison to find the campus partners that can help you bring your business ideas to life. You can find this new tool at innovate.wisc.edu/resources. Once again, innovate.wisc.edu/resources. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce Michelle and Aimee, who will share with you insights on how to develop a business model to move your innovation forward. Michelle Somes-Booher is the director of the Wisconsin Small Business Development Center at UW-Madison. SBDC this year is celebrating its 40th year. They provide no-cost consultation and business education to startups and existing businesses. Joining Michelle is Aimee Arnoldussen, who is one of our innovation mentors at Discovery to Product, or D2P. Aimee has a PhD in neuroscience and has commercial experience in healthcare product development, small business grants, FDA device regulations, fundraising, and technology assessment. Michelle and Aimee, the virtual floor is all yours.
Thanks, Andy. Aimee and I are really glad to be here today to talk to all of you about starting your business. So today we're going to be exploring your business idea using the business model toolbox, and specifically learning a little bit more about the business model canvas. So you have an idea for a product or a service. You know, that's always an exciting place to start. And we're here as organizations to help you fully explore turning that idea from simply a dream into an actual business. So it's really necessary to understand the feasibility of your idea or your concept, and whether or not your idea solves a problem for customers, and recognizing the challenges that you could encounter along the way to becoming a real business. So the business plan is one tool used for planning. Business plans were created off of military plans. So the history of business planning is that it comes from that space. And it wasn't until the 1920s that Harvard Business School decided that could become a practice. And essentially, the business plan was put in place for existing businesses to understand how to allocate their resources to meet the needs of a particular market. Works really well if you're an existing business because you understand how things operate, and you can rely on past experience to think about future success. The business plan is a great tool. In the 1970s, the business plan was the first time it began to be applied to startup world. And essentially, it happened because lenders wanted to get some reassurance that somebody's business idea had been thought through thoroughly. And if I'm going to lend you some money, I want to make sure that you've spent the time researching it and making sure that this idea could really take off. It's difficult as a startup to write a full business plan because it relies so heavily on understanding your industry. If you are in a very traditional industry, for example, if you want to start a restaurant or you want to work in the construction industry, that's a known industry, and it's easy to get data and research and try to formulate and craft your plan around your idea. We discovered it's not so easy if you're in the tech space. So the evolution of planning went when we tried to apply the business plan to tech startups in the 1990s. And what we found out is when we don't have any of that history and we don't understand the markets really well, it's really hard to put together a plan based on research that doesn't exist. So in the early 1990s, we had lots of companies that were bubbling up. They weren't seeking funding from traditional sources that required this sort of planning, more equity investment. And they launched the business without that level of scrutiny. And what happened at the end of that bubble? We all know what happened, right? The bubble burst. And when the bubble burst, it was discovered that a lot of companies hadn't done a lot of planning. This led to researchers saying, well, if a business plan doesn't work so great for a startup, but no planning doesn't work that well either, what are we left with? And they sought out figuring out how we could have some better options, especially in those early stages when we're trying to find out if our idea and our supposed customer really match well together. And this research led to a body of work called the Lean Startup process. And it seeks to validate a set of startup assumptions by interacting with potential customers before you build the business. And the business model canvas is at the center of this process. So this is what the business model canvas looks like. And the foundation for the Lean Startup methodology is it's evidence-based entrepreneurship. Instead of creating a really detailed plan, founders summarize their hypotheses or their assumptions about their idea in this framework called the business model canvas. It's a diagram of how what's really, really great about this tool is it's one page and it's 9 boxes of content to consider. It's a visual tool. A lot of us love the visual aspect of this, that you can lay out your entire business on one sheet of paper versus trying to describe it in 29 pages of a business plan template. So the tool looks really simple and it operates really simply, but it helps you organize and refine your model so that you can test your assumptions with potential markets.
So Michelle and I are going to dig into this business model canvas, but let's go into a little bit about why the business model canvas. It provides a shared language when interacting with others in this business development space. It's an easy tool for iteration, and it's a tool to organize risk as well as highlight areas to focus. So at a high level, the upper right-hand boxes will help you explore whether the market will deem your product as desirable. The upper left-hand boxes support exploration of the resources and activities that will support whether your product or service is even feasible to deliver. And finally, this is all rooted in a healthy economic foundation of viability. Do you know that your sources of revenue exceed the cost to deliver? So overall, you need to explore, confirm, refine your business model to be desirable, feasible, and viable. So let's zoom in and look at more of the details across the 9 categories. And as we tour through the business model canvas, or BMC for short, you'll see that we don't go in a left to right or top to bottom order. In all reality, you'll likely jump around the boxes in the business model canvas too. That's to be expected. And so a blank business model canvas can seem intimidating at first, but it all starts with educated guesses. And where you don't even have an educated guess, well, that indicates that's an area to do more research and seek out help and support to better understand your options. So the next step in using the business model canvas as a tool is to prove or disprove your guesses by gathering evidence. This is usually done via market research and discovery interviews.
So when Aimee and I were planning this presentation, one of the things we thought would be really important for you is to see an example in action. So this is our example. Let's pretend that you've developed a new biodegradable cup. And this cup is made of a fantastic new recyclable material. It's sturdy, it's easy to form, it keeps your coffee just the right temperature, not too hot, doesn't get cold quickly. So we're going to use this example as we go through. Aimee's going to explain some aspects of the business model canvas, and then I'll jump back in and show you how we're going to apply it to our new product, the biodegradable cup.
And so we'll start in the middle with the value proposition. This is simply, what are you selling? And in particular, what value does the customer get out of that, and do they really care? When put this way, most people have an idea of what they're selling, but it may take some reflection to consider how that product or service solves problems or addresses particular needs. Michelle.
So what we're selling is a biodegradable cup. I love to state it simply like this so that we are very clear about what it is people are changing money for. But as Aimee said, that's not where we end, right? So we want to figure out what the value is that we're bringing with this product. So the value we bring is no waste to a landfill. It retains heat. and functions like any other cup, and it isn't cost prohibitive. This product or service is solving the guilt that the consumer might feel from using a takeout cup, or the cost of trying to do the right thing if you're a business owner. And that is the problem that we're trying to solve for folks.
Next, we're going to look at who is this for? Who are our customers? And in this box, we're going to focus on the people, not the companies, the sectors, the buildings, but who are those people who are going to buy this?
So in the case of the biodegradable cup, it's pretty interesting because we have what could be considered a two-sided model. You know, our company is going to sell it to a restaurant or a cafe or coffee shops who use a disposable cup. It has to function for a user, the person that's taking that coffee, buying that coffee in takeout. A prototypical customer description would include demographics. So if I'm going to be thinking about that coffee shop, I might say, I want to be selling this to coffee shops that are 800 to 2,000 square foot shops. They're independently owned. They're located in the upper Midwest. Maybe we're focusing on stores that have a sales of around $150,000 or more. They care about the environment. They care about being good community stewards. I want to, when I'm talking to them, I want to find out what's important to them and what things that they're trying to get done. They want to save money on expenses, and they want to be authentic to their values of the store. You know, and if the environment's important, we want to make sure we're really addressing that need.
It sounds like neat customers, Michelle. Let's now look at the value proposition and customer segment and how they relate or how they're aligned. And when they are aligned, it said you have product market fit. However, sometimes people build really cool products, but haven't confirmed that their customers really have and care about the problem to be solved. That's why a lot of business discovery should focus on getting and aligning with the customer needs with that value proposition.
So let's think about this cup. We said originally that our customer segment was these small business customers, and that they were going to really love it, and we thought that was the group we were really going to be able to target. Smaller order sizes. The market was available. I go to coffee shops all the time, but when I dug in, what I might have realized was, man, they weren't going to buy as many as I thought that they were going to, or the market wasn't as big as I thought it was going to be. So what I started to do was, what I would just start to do is talk to lots of different people. And what I could discover is that perhaps there are other customers that I hadn't thought about. For example, what about gas station customers? Maybe they would really like the value of this product, and we could meet their needs as well. There maybe are a lot more gas stations than there are independent owner coffee shops. Once you could discover that gas stations, for example, are a potential customer, then you maybe could feel confident about reaching that alignment. We could really meet the needs and have a much bigger market to sell toward.
So once you have that alignment, now we can look at the channels box. And the channels box is where you figure out how you'll be delivering the product and value to the customer. Is it brick and mortar, Amazon, through a distribution company? And then below that, the customer relationships describe the methods you'll use to keep, grow, and get those customers. What kind of marketing will you need to get your customers? What kind of relationships will you need to keep those new customers? And how will you expand to gain those new customers?
So a product like a cup is often sold through distribution. If I'm a small independent store or a gas station, I probably have a supplier for these things. But I also could plan on selling them online, direct to consumer. In addition, the relationship that I have with these customers would be fairly transactional. In other words, they would place an order, the order gets shipped, and that's it. However, in your business, understanding your customer relationship can really affect the way that you operate. So some businesses may benefit from a high-touch relationship. The example we often give with this is the difference between, going to that gas station to get a cup of coffee versus going to that independent store. If I go to the gas station to get a cup of coffee, it's transactional. I go in, I get a cup of coffee, I take it, and I'm on my way. But if I go into an independent coffee shop, I expect a higher level of service. I expect a nice atmosphere. I expect a selection of roasts. So understanding the customer relationship is really important. As a cup vendor for my new cup, being transactional is just fine.
So now we're going to look at the key activities. What kind of things does your company need to create and deliver the value to the customers? This is your to-do list. You have key resources. What are the must-have things for this to work? And as you think about the key activity and resources, can you be specific with respect to your activity and resource needs?
So again, if we're selling this biodegradable cup, what are the things that we have to do? One of the key activities we have to do on the top is sell it, right? We have to get out there and make those sales. We also have to work with our manufacturer. We have to make sure that we are going to be able to fulfill those orders. We might want to keep on doing research. Maybe there's a part of the cup we feel like could be better. Maybe it could have a longer shelf life. Maybe it could have a different cup fit or a lid fit, for example. So keeping track of what all the things that we have to do is really important. And it's important in the business model canvas to think in bullet points. What are the key top level things that we are going to have to do? Key resources are really, think of those as internal to the organization. What is it that I'm going to have on hand that will help me operate? Resources for the sales function could be, for example, I might have to have people. I might have to have a really great website. I might have to have some great marketing pieces. Those are good resources to have.
And so then we look at what partners must be engaged for you to succeed. And a key partner usually links to one of the other boxes in the business model canvas. They partner with you to deliver better value in the other boxes. For example, you may partner with an established company to gain credibility through their customer relationships and channels.
So we can't do this alone. And when I think about key partners, I think about it being those external resources that really help us get things done. So in this particular case, I might be looking at distributors and suppliers as really key partners. Those distribution channels I couldn't set up all on my own, but if I partner with a distributor, I'm going to be much more successful.
And then we look at the bottom. The cost structure goes into understanding which costs you need to get off the ground and cost you'll need to continue making and selling your product or service. These are different from your startup costs, which typically are one-time cost only. And for the revenue streams box, how will you capture some of that value for yourself? Will you sell the device outright? Will you rent or lease it? Will there be disposables or ongoing refills like the printer ink model? Will it be a subscription? Will you use ad revenue to pay for the service? These are all examples of possible revenue models. But at the end of the day, your revenue must exceed your costs.
So when I look at revenue streams, we're going to think about how we sell these cups. And are we going to sell them by the gross? So people are buying it in one set package. Or if some of the businesses are too small, we may sell them in smaller quantity sizes. So how we package those up helps us determine the revenue streams in various quantities. So we could also sell them on a subscription model. We could sell them as orders come in. On the cost side, the cost structures really have to do with our expenses and our cost of goods sold. So what does it cost to manufacture them? What are the distribution fees? What are the personnel fees that we have, the payroll, the marketing, the cost for our website, and so forth?
So you can see that the business model canvas is a tool for organizing your thoughts about different parts of your developing business model. Some entrepreneurs are looking to make a social impact in addition to a profit. This can be called a social enterprise or social entrepreneurship. The company can be formed via a variety of legal entities, including both not-for-profit and for-profit with a social mission. For these endeavors, the mission of the company or the anchor purpose sets the tone for the entire business model canvas. Much of the business model remains the same, but there are a few additional factors to consider, but on the whole, the processes are quite similar. So in summary, this business model canvas is a tool to figure out, do customers want this? And can we find them and deliver it to them? And if we finally do, can we gather the elements required to do it? And if all these variables are in place, and the revenues exceed the cost, you have a working business model to begin executing on. If not, it indicates that you should do more research and talk to more people until you have more confidence in your overall business model.
Having a good understanding of the model allows you to test this market to see if our assumptions are correct. This is an iterative process. What you write down at the beginning is only the first step in your discovery to learn more about whether this is a good business idea and not just a good idea.
And we heard Michelle at various stages of walking through this business model canvas. Think about it, ask customers, and pivot based on the feedback. And the business model canvas, as Michelle said, is that first step in the lean startup process. Once you have the confidence that you have product market fit, then you take that next step and see what potential customers have to say. And you may build a minimal viable product and test that out in the market. You may ask customers and get feedback about how much to charge, how much they like it, and you'll use and iterate that and find that the business model canvas is a tool that can guide that exploration. So for example, in this image, the minimal viable product is a simple cupcake, but that can test your assumptions about the distribution channels, the customer relations, and at any point you can update with more knowledge your business model canvas.
I really like this picture, Aimee, because, at the end of the day, if the cupcake doesn't taste good, it doesn't matter what you put on top of it and how fancy you make it look. So it's a really good way for us to think about skinning down whatever it is you're going to start with and make sure that the core of it is really, really good. So the example we were using, if the cup that we had invented leaked or started to degrade quickly, that wouldn't be good. So we need to create that minimal viable product, get it out there and see what our customers have to say, potential customers would have to say about it before we start selling it into large chain gas stations or other venues.
So in conclusion, I wanted to share that Madison has a rich innovation ecosystem. We like to think of D2P as the center, as the resource hub, as a kind of concierge service or matchmaker to get innovators connected to the right resources at the right time. As you can see, a number of these organizations are presenting this week, and you have the opportunity to meet with representatives, and I highly encourage you to engage. If all of this feels overwhelming, feel free to contact us directly at D2P or the SBDC, and we can help get you connected. And finally, I wanted to share a brand new resource with you that Andy mentioned at the top of the hour called Start in Wisconsin. Again, it's a searchable database. You can narrow it to by campus, for campus programs and resources that support entrepreneurs. It also includes a link to the Madison region page to facilitate additional exploration of community-based programs and resources. And with that, I want to thank you for joining us as we explored how the business model canvas can be used as a tool to support your developing innovation ideas. And now this will be an opportunity Michelle and I would look forward to answering questions.
Thanks so much, you guys, for a great presentation. That was really clear and insightful. We have a few questions that we want to get started with. One question is, how do you know that if we bring your idea forward and talk to other people to explore product market fit, that we're not going to give away our idea and have someone steal it?
I think Aimee and I can both answer that in a little bit different way. So I'll take it from the first kind of high level general. You don't have to give away the secret of your concept to talk about your concept. So, and if you can't talk about your concept at all, you're going to have a really hard time pulling it forward to being in a business. There is a time when it needs to be protected, when you need to protect your intellectual property, and that's legitimate and valid, and we need to understand that. And I'm sure Aimee can address that a little bit more. But in general, we hear this a lot. Someone says, I have this really great idea and I can't tell anybody. Well, if you can't tell anybody, it's going to be really hard to get going and launch it and get the assistance that you need. So that's just sort of a general overarching. We're not saying reveal your intellectual property. We're saying, you can talk about things in general terms without someone stealing your idea.
And I think one of the things we do in coaching on these customer discovery interviews is we share that people don't actually even have to talk about their idea or their product. They can go into a conversation and say, tell me a time when you found this particular thing challenging, and get them to tell you how they do things today and what's working or not in that particular realm. And you can drive the conversation into your space and figure out if there really is a problem there that needs solving. And so you can do all of this without actually mentioning your particular secret sauce or idea.
Great, that's super helpful. We have another question about, this all makes a lot of sense for consumer products, but how does it work for more complicated things like a new device or a new pharmaceutical or something that's going to take a long time? Is this still the same approach that you would use, or how might you modify using the business model canvas?
So I'll take that one. You're still going to use the same business model canvas. You might use it in a slightly different order. So if your device is in the medical space and has a long lead time because you have regulatory concerns like the FDA, you're going to want to start understanding those factors early on before you figure out your go, no go strategy. But you're still going to want to go and find out how things are solved today and what the problems are. In the case of medical devices, what does reimbursement look like? Get a head start to figure out what it takes to be adopted in a clinical environment to make sure that all the pieces are in place. So we find that this is a tool that works across all kinds of different business ideas, whether it's a tangible product, a service, high tech, low tech, anything in between.
And I think I would just add to that what I love about the business model canvas is it really gives us a chance to see if we can get that product market fit. Just because we can invent something doesn't necessarily mean that there's a market for it, that it's solving somebody's problem. And so what I love about the canvas is it gives us a chance to really explore that and see early on if we're solving a problem for somebody or enough people early on.
So another question is, should you expect your initial concept to evolve a lot during this process? And does that mean you're not really creative and you're not good at this and you should just give up? Or what should you expect along the way?
I mean, I think you should expect creativity and many pivots and continuous refinement. I mean, I think what drives a lot of innovators is really that success of delivering the product to the end customer and having that customer excited to use it, right? And if we make this product and we're not willing to adjust to what the marketplace says, we're not going to be successful and the end customer is not going to be excited. So that's why the business model canvas is this little worksheet which is meant to be iterative, which is meant to have some gaps and make you really focus in on what you really don't know yet and what you want to and aspire to find out more information. And as you become an established company, you still can start considering the business model canvas. Maybe you're going to expand into a new market. Maybe you're going to explore new partnerships. Again, you can continue to go back and see how these things change in your business model canvas.
One of the things this tool does as well is it shows you what you know and what you don't know. So when you sit down to fill out your first business model canvas, you may have sections that are blank. That's perfectly fine. That actually is very instructive. If you have boxes that you can't fill out, don't try to force an answer in there. See that as a place where you need to do some exploration and some discovery, which may lead to changes in your original value proposition.
Actually, along those lines, we have another question that just came in. What advice do you have for those with an idea that falls in a field different from the one that they have experience in? For example, a business student might have an idea that falls under biotechnology. If that student has no idea or no knowledge of technology, how should they go about learning the field and working with professionals without giving the idea away?
Well, I think there's multi-layers there. I think there definitely can be benefits from being removed from the nitty-gritty of the details of that technology. It allows you to be free to ask the big and important questions. But I don't think if your idea is in someone else's space, it sounds like you probably want to partner with people who can help you navigate a little bit faster and make sure you don't encounter some obvious hurdles that anybody in that field would know about. And certainly if the field knows about a hurdle, you certainly can question it, right? As someone who's outside of it, probe deeper. Why is it a hurdle? What needs to be done to make it no longer a hurdle?
And I'd say the second part of that answer is just being at a session like this and getting exposure to resources is really important, because if you landed in Aimee's office or you landed in my office and you told us that this is an area you're very much interested in and you needed to connect with somebody across campus or across the community, that's where we might be able to help put you in touch with people that you could partner with or talk to about this original idea. So becoming involved in the network is really important, and using that Innovate website to kind of explore what all the options and resources are could be really helpful when you're in a situation like this where this isn't your expertise. Getting connected to the right people early on is important.
And actually another question, I think taking it from the opposite end, what if you are a technology expert, you don't have any idea how to think about finance and accounting? Same answer, connect up with you guys and get connected to an expert, or how do you begin to tackle those core capabilities that you might not have as an inventor?
Yeah, so that's something that I can address. So the Small Business Development Center, in particular, we're really good at helping people act like a real business. That's one of our strengths. So we offer non-credit education. We have courses and seminars about that. We also offer no-cost one-on-one consulting. So this is a very common situation where somebody doesn't go into business because they love to do accounting. They go into business because they love whatever it is that they do, and accounting is something that they have to do. So we're happy to help provide some structure and some education around those pieces, and then also provide referrals out to paid professionals that could help.
And many innovations don't happen solely by one individual. It often is teams of people with complementary skills, or on your business model canvas, think in the partnership box on the left. If you don't like a particular area, you don't have the skill, you don't want to learn it, that's an area where you say, you know, I might need to find a key partner to work with in order to make this happen.
And can you guys talk a little bit about how you two work together, and how do you get started? Where do you go? Do you go to SBDC? Do you go to D2P? Does it matter what your affiliation is, where you start? If you start one path, is that irreversible, or can you jump to another track, or how to get going and how to work with you guys as resources?
I'm going to share there's no wrong answer. There's
Right.
many pathways into this network. We at D2P advertise, you can always come to us. We'll try and match you. But if you start at SBDC, if you start at the Law and Entrepreneurship Clinic, if you start anywhere, we know each other, and we will hear from you what it is that you're looking for, and we'll try and make those matches and those warm handoffs. So I think the encouragement is, the first step is to reach out and start the conversations.
Absolutely. Entrepreneurship is complex, right? And the paths are complex. And so we try to make it as easy as possible. That's where Start in Wisconsin it comes. And the version that we have for campus is really great, because campus is its own ecosystem and can be difficult to navigate. So there are lots of places that you can go to find that first touch. And if it's not the right organization, that's okay. That's why we're all in partnership and understand what it is that each group does, so we can help explain that. So Aimee's answer is perfect in that start wherever you want to start, and then we'll help you navigate the ecosystem.
And one of the things I wanted to share is that D2P has some cohort or group programs. So not only can you learn about how to develop your idea, but you're in a group learning session with other people who aspire to do the same thing for their particular passion project. And you can learn from the things that work for other teams and the hurdles that they encounter. And of course, build that your own community of people at similar stages to you who will help navigate this space with you. So I think the overall message is, you're not alone. Come, reach out, and we'll help you move forward on your journey.
I think that's a great segue into another question that came in from Miriam, who is saying, this program and the programs surrounding it make Madison a really, really rich environment with opportunities for mentorship. It's really staggering and wonderful. But as someone in a remote community, how can we meet peers? How can we go about socializing with fellow entrepreneurs, especially first-time entrepreneurs, and support each other in our efforts to create value if you aren't based in Madison? I wonder if you guys could speak to that.
So I can talk a little bit about that, because the Small Business Development Centers we are a federally funded program established by the Small Business Administration. We are in every single state, and in the state of Wisconsin, we have 13 centers. Most of our centers are attached to one of the four-year universities, but not necessarily. So we're out in the community, if you will, or in the state. So we have people in Parkside and we have people in Superior, so we're all over the place. So smaller communities do have entrepreneurial activities that are happening. And then I would also encourage people to reach out to your economic development offices at the county and city level, because a lot of times they'll have inventors or entrepreneurial organizations or meetups as well. And then what's really great now about us kind of transitioning to more of a virtual environment, there's a lot of virtual opportunities to meet and mentor and share stories with other people. And I think this Startup Week is an excellent example of that kind of a pivot, where attending events will allow you to get to know some other people and reach out and kind of create your own circles.
Great, thank you. And the clarification from Miriam, and I did put a few words in her mouth just to make the, to explore that question, but she's based in Madison, but just how to meet people here at an entry level into entrepreneurship. And I guess I would add to that just my own 2 cents. We do have some mentorship networks in Madison, and I'm wondering if you guys can speak to how accessible those are to people who maybe aren't in the mix already, maybe aren't living here. How can they connect up with, for example, Merlin Mentors or any other mentorship cohorts that that really enrich the entrepreneurial community here based at UW-Madison?
Well, I think you started well. One of them is Merlin Mentors, which is a group of experienced entrepreneurs who can be consulted for various key decisions along your journey. But we have, resources, whether they're here at D2P or WARF or SBDC, where people are willing to sit down and talk about your idea. And now that we're, spending much of our time virtual, you have this unique opportunity that you can often get in contact with people and, have 20 minutes of time, video chat, face-to-face, and begin to explore and go out and sort of meet people who you wouldn't have otherwise been able to meet. And so I think the lesson that we try and encourage in our programs is get out of the building and talk to people. And that may be customers, but that may also be people who are doing similar things to you or at a similar stage, so you can feel that sense of community. Because I think the worst thing is feeling like you have this business model and you're alone in a dark room and have to figure it out all yourself. And the successful companies, they aren't doing it that way. They're leaning on their network. They're leaning on the resources of the community, of the state, and even national programs.
I would say as a follow-up too, Laura, that Aimee and I and Cecily and the D2P crew, we're used to talking to people that have a new idea and that are brand new and maybe have never done this before. That's what we do for work. So you don't have to feel embarrassed or worried or intimidated by any of that. That we're here to do this. That's our job. So, and that's what really makes us excited about our work, is hearing these new ideas and your thoughts, and then figuring out how we can help you do a better job. So don't hesitate to reach out, because that's what we're here for.
And, we're not here to judge an idea as good or bad. We actually won't tell you if the idea is good or bad, because we don't know. You are probably the expert of your idea. But what we'll have is we'll walk you through some of your assumptions on the business model canvas, and we'll say, what evidence do you have to support that idea? And that conversation, you'll say, oh, I reached out to this organization or this group of people, and they gave me this particular feedback, which makes me confident that that's the way it's going to be in the business model canvas. And we'll say, great. And we'll move to another box, and maybe that's where you're less sure. And we'll think, who do you need to talk to, or what activities do you need to do, so you now can have that confidence to move forward? Or maybe have that difficult conversation of you need to pivot or change how you're presenting value to the marketplace.
And as a follow-up, I'm guessing that you would maybe offer to make some connections into those mentorship networks and those other broader networks. And that's part of the richness that D2P brings, that SBDC brings, that we at WARF have, because you can't be expected to know everybody if you're just getting started. But as an entrepreneurial community, we have a lot more, tons and tons of connections, and can make some warm introductions or just suggestions about areas to look at. Would you guys echo that?
I would echo that. Absolutely. Entirely. A warm introduction really helps facilitate it. And where we have those connections, I know we at D2P are more than happy. I'm sure Michelle is as well.
Yes, absolutely. And we're also really aware of the timing of the connection. So if you come to us and you want to jump right to a connection that maybe would better serve you a little further down the road, we're happy to help you navigate that as well, because it's in a large network like we have in Madison, it's very easy to just resource shop, right? I keep going from place to place to place. And so, when you get connected with one or two groups, just settling back in a little bit, making some progress, and then going to the right group at the right time can be very helpful. And not knowing that, that's what we're all here to do.
And so as an example, early in your idea, you probably wouldn't want to go have a discovery interview with the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. You're going to get one shot with that person. And if you can get a warm introduction, great. But maybe you want to build out that business model canvas and have a great amount of confidence in it because you get that one shot. And we want to get you prepared so that that meeting is as fruitful as it can be.
We have another question that came in. A lot of industries face very specific problems that need solving. As a student, though, these problems are not yet on my radar. Do you have any suggestions for how we can learn about and or identify problems that really need solutions when we don't have that much exposure?
I think the first step is recognizing that and leading with curiosity, talking to people, having these informational interviews, and ask people, you know, in our proverbial party situation, people have all different backgrounds and careers, and you can say what's working in your sector, what are the areas, the unmet challenges, and just lead with curiosity and reach out to people and find out more about what they do and survey a broad area. As a student, I think that's a great opportunity. And then if you hone in on a few ideas, D2P works with students, faculty, and staff. And one of the really neat things is that erases that hierarchy. The student's idea, the faculty idea start at the very beginning, and they all go through the same process, and there can be bi-directional collaborative support between the teams.
And I would build on that answer by saying, as a student, take advantage of what's on campus. The Weinert Center at the School of Business has wonderful luncheon series where they bring in entrepreneurs. I think these things are open and available to you. It's important for you to take advantage of them and to do your homework before you go to one of these lunches. Figure out what that industry is. Ask intelligent questions. Network. Use LinkedIn as a good channel. Early in your college career, set up a profile, and when you meet one of these folks, connect with them and tell them where you met them and what you learned from them. Those are all ways that you can start building out awareness of what's around you.
I'm wondering if you guys can comment on the, COVID giveth and it taketh away. How someone trying to navigate this environment now, what's been helpful and what's easier and what's harder, because I think we recognize people don't have to travel necessarily. You might be able to catch up with that Fortune 500 CEO. Not that you necessarily should start there, but people might be more accessible. And yet on the other hand, we don't have these kind of chance encounters. When we do Entrepreneurons in the Discovery Building during the before times, we always have a happy hour afterwards, and it's a great way to mix and mingle. People aren't flying and going to conferences. How do we get the best from this time, and what have we lost in terms of this kind of networking and building out a suite of mentors that you can rely on?
So I think you're right, Laura, that the collisions, the unplanned collisions are what we've lost. But what we've gained is this ability to reach further. You're not hemmed in by the boundary, and we do have a little bit more time. We're not traveling between things. So also, there are many more free options right now. A lot of people took their content that maybe was guarded, a little more guarded, and said, okay, I'm going to make this more accessible to people. So that's been a bonus. And anytime you experience this amount of disruption, it spurs innovation. And what we're seeing is people really, really thinking about different ideas. And so finding opportunities to attend networking groups or small groups and share your thoughts and ideas is really, I think, really a few important things that have come out of this.
And I think being transparent, recognize when you reach out and talk to people, these are crazy times, and some people may have more time. Other people, this might not be the right time or the opportunity. Conferences haven't gone away. You may miss those collisions, but the conferences and the networking often still happen. If you're not able to afford some of the conferences, a lot of them are posted sort of live stream on Twitter. Follow and engage in the content areas where you may be, and you may find that easily sort of a virtual meeting by interacting, whether it's on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, however it is in your particular field.
Great. Yeah, I was going to add that, you might, if there is somebody, a thought leader in a field that you want to know more about, you might be able to find them giving a talk that you don't have to travel to, because so much more content is available from our living rooms. And so there are silver linings in terms of building a network and getting to know more people. The questions have slowed down. I think if there aren't any more, what I'm going to do is go back and share my screen and just plug one more time the events that we have coming up as the continuation of Startup Week. So bear with me here. I think I'm sharing my screen. I'm going to close the Q&A. Just again, we do have a suite of events coming up for the rest of the week. I'll turn to that page in just a moment. But if you want to attend any of the WARF events, you can certainly go to the Startup Week site that D2P has, or you can email us directly at info@warf.org, or go to WARF's page and go to the programming tab. And again, the events that we are featuring this week, it's not toggling, there we go. Here's a rundown again, starting tomorrow. Again, we're talking about venture funding in the high-tech arena. On Friday, we're talking about making a disclosure if you have an invention. On Monday, we're talking about how to navigate outside third-party interactions, consulting, conflicts of interest, while maintaining good standing on campus. On Tuesday, we have a look into what other universities are doing to tailor their programs to meet the specific challenges that women and people of color face in trying to get their ideas into the marketplace. And then lastly, on November 18th, join us for WARF Innovation Day at 2 p.m. And so you can sign up for all of those by going to info@warf.org or just warf.org. With that, I will stop sharing my screen and thank all of you for attending, and thank Aimee and Michelle for a great presentation and a great discussion, and to Andy for including us in Startup Week. Thanks so much, everybody. Be well, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow and at other events later this week. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.